Eric, I love that song. I want to play it all the time.
We could do that.
I love that song, man. It is so, just kind of gets y'all going and everything. It's fun to talk about things you like, isn't it? Right now, a lot of people think that, well, everybody hears, at least who listens to our show, it's a buyer's market. It should be pretty easy to sell a house. And we still got to do some things, and it takes some experience and some understanding to draw some emotions out of a buyer. Tony Marrese joins us, managing broker with Windermere Real Estate East. Well, welcome, Tony. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good to have you.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Picked a good day to come up and, the studio with a view here and everything.
I like that.
I like it too. You'd actually brought this to our attention here at the very beginning of our prep about this kind of living in a house versus marketing a house. And when people hear buyer's market, I would assume that a lot of sellers think, well, I'll just throw it on the market and it'll work.
Well, that would be a seller's market, Ben.
That's right.
But anyway, yes.
Oh, I'm flip-flopping here.
A little bit. That's
that.
okay. So with the market as strong as it is and homes selling as quickly as they are, that is the perception that we just put it out there and sell it. And really, you still need to package it correctly because it's different living in a home than it is marketing a home. When you're marketing a home, you're on stage. And quite frankly, you want to protect the equity that you have in your home. And in order to do that, you need to appeal to the market, and you want to get their emotional feel into it. And the way to do that is to prep it, everything from the front exterior through the home, inside the home.
Because that's kind of the big piece here. I mean, everybody buys things emotionally.
Correct.
And then they rationalize it later.
Yeah.
And I would imagine a home, which is like the most emotional purchase people can make, man, as a seller, you really do want to tug on the emotional strings.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do whatever you can to do that. And when sellers get that, they maximize the full potential that they can get out of the home, and again, protecting their equity there.
So what are some of the basics of pulling the strings of a buyer? And maybe we shouldn't use that, but, of really, as you say, maximizing the potential of a house and that buyer or that appeal.
Well, most of the time, 99% of the time, sellers are having to do what we call declutter. There's a lot of things in the home, and that's the way we live, and yet less is more at that point. And then I have a stager come in, and we look for where the focal point of each room should be, how to get a buyer emotionally involved. And you take things out, you clutter, you add some color, you move things around, and all of a sudden it feels warm, comfortable, and like home.
I mean, I would think of it as, I use Nordstrom's as an example, but when people go to Nordstrom's and they're thinking about buying something, everything's well presented.
Correct.
Kind of the same thought.
Same thing. Exact same thing. Yeah.
So once you declutter, and I mean, now there's just this element of, I guess, finding the focal point, and now you've essentially put a house out there that other people feel that they can live in?
Correct. They can see themselves there. It feels comfortable. It feels warm. It's not crowded. They can walk around. They can envision themselves in the home. You want to create light. You want to create balance, all of that. So, yeah, they can see themselves in the home.
Now, you talk about creating light, creating balance in a home, but you also mentioned this importance of kind of creating urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Does this tend to help do that?
Oh, of course it does, because you get more than one person involved at that point. There's strong demand in the marketplace right now. Interest rates are low, and yes, you get more than one person involved, and it does create the urgency factor.
That fear of loss a little bit, right?
Yes, exactly.
There's the, when you go like an open house, and if there's 30 people there,
yeah,
somebody's interested,
yeah,
freaks them out a little bit.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. They want it more when there's the fear of loss. Absolutely. And the open house traffic has been phenomenal. There's a lot of people out there.
So what are some other things that create urgency? I mean, it wouldn't seem that would be difficult in this exact market. But
right.
Certainly there are some big reasons that, people do need to still create urgency because you're trying to get a buyer to actually quit kicking the tires.
Correct. And part of the package then becomes pricing. And I'm not sure if that's where you were going with that, Ben, but pricing is the next piece of it, the next part of it. It's important to price correctly. When the market was at its peak back in 06 and 07, there was a lot of market momentum built into pricing, and you could pretty much build in market momentum and get get extra money out of it that way. Now buyers are still a little bit more, I don't want to say conservative, but a little more cautious, if you will. So you still need to price the home correctly, because it doesn't take much to miss the correct price, and then all of a sudden you're kind of sitting there. You've got all these people, but no offers, and you wonder why.
Well, you make an interesting point about buyers being more cautious, and part of that is also comes from the lending side. People can't, if you're pre-approved to half of $500,000. You don't just get to go, well, I'll go to 6 and I'll state my income and then we'll just figure it out later.
Correct.
It doesn't quite work that way anymore.
Not anymore. No, buyers are a little more cautious, and they know what they're willing to pay. They know about what market value should be, and they'll pay only that amount, and if not, they're willing to wait. Even though there's demand, there's urgency, they are willing to wait if it isn't exactly right.
Well, the willingness to wait, I guess, it's coupled with low interest rates. I mean, people keep seeing interest rates go down, prices go up, affordability still kind of remains the same.
Correct. Yeah, the affordability factor is great right now. So you want to make sure that you package it all correctly, and that would be naturally price as well.
And so what, if people can price a house to sell, and if you can create urgency around a house, what's keeping people from selling their houses? I mean, we have all this low inventory.
Right.
Is it are people still clinging to that 2006, 2007 value and aren't quite ready to give it up yet? I mean, there's got to be some momentum, or something's got to give eventually. You
mean as far as having the low inventory that we have? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, I mean, with the low inventory out there,
yeah.
I mean, sellers, you would think, could go, well, geez, prices seem to go up. There's tons of multiple offers.
Right.
What is keeping the sellers from putting their house on the market?
Well, there's sellers out there that would love to sell right now, and they can't because they're upside down. Then there's other sellers that have plenty of equity, are comfortable in their home, not much to choose from, and they'll wait, or they're going to wait for prices to get even better because, again, they don't have the urgency as the seller. So there's a couple of reasons keeping the inventory down, and then the distressed properties are not. There's not as many out there as what there was. They seem to be more systematically being released to the marketplace, so that's holding inventory down as well.
Well, it seems that if you can if you have a house and you're interested in selling it, and you can do the things that you're talking about, making it the most attractive to a buyer, well, that would make a lot of sense. I mean, this would seem like a good time to put your house on the market.
It's a perfect time.
Not a lot of competition.
That is correct. Yeah, we're just under a 2-month supply of inventory.
And that's not very much.
No, we consider less than 3 months to be a seller's market. So that's where we are. There's a tug of war going on between buyers and sellers right now.
Yeah, and who's winning?
It all depends on the situation. House by house, right? You know what? If you get your home ready for sale correctly, the sellers have a little bit of an upper hand. It's an interesting dynamic going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, we see it all the time. People are getting pre-approved, and all of a sudden 4 houses. Now they've lost 5 houses.
Yes.
And then the scary part is, you have this really good thing going on in the market, in the real estate market, but now you start seeing some buyers just slowly kind of going, they get a little burnt out, and they leave the market because it's so difficult. Have you seen that?
Absolutely. It is. It's challenging out there when you're a buyer and you're competing against other offers. And that, as you mentioned, that's not uncommon. The reason for that is because the seller did a good job getting the home ready for sale. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So yeah, and buyers get frustrated. You lose 1, 2, or 3 houses, you're like, man, what have I got to do? And
spend more money.
Yeah. Well, pre-approve them for more.
Done. We'll just jack up those pre-approvals, right? We always like in the mortgage industry, and this was a funny video we actually just saw when we pre-approve somebody for $400,000 and then we get a contract for $420,000. Yeah. Like, really? What are we doing here? Anyways, Tony, thanks so much for joining us. Again, Tony Marrese with Windermere Real Estate. And good information. People are out there considering selling a house, and you can't just put it on the market. As you said, buyers are still particular in what they want, and they're going to be more cautious than they used to be. But you may not need to sell your house because maybe you can just remodel it and make it the perfect house that you want, right? I mean, there's other ways to get the house that you want without selling it or buying a new one. One of my favorites, I call them the building